Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another historic church in Shropshire. This is the Church of All Saints, Tibberton. Now, Tibberton is an ancient chapelry within the historic parish of Edgemont. Tibberton had a chaplain as far back as the 12th century, and so we know that the original church here was almost certainly Norman. It was completely rebuilt, as we see it today, in about 1840. And in 1867, it became a rectory. It ceased to be a chapel of ease and became a rectory in its own right. So what we see today is a building of 1840, and most of what we see within, if not everything we see within, is post that date. Of course, when it became a rectory and therefore a parish church, it was much beautified and altered. One thing you may have noticed is this is the gallery. There's a really deep west gallery, which is something that, of course, 1840 is still very much things that can happen in the C of E. There's an organ chamber off that way, and the organ dates from, where's it date from? 1880, sorry, and it's by J. Banfield and Son of Birmingham. The font dates from 1880 as well, so there was a restoration in 1880, and the building we see today is substantially as it was left in 1880, barring some 20th and 21st century alterations. It's another example of how, in the 19th century, you had this church rebuilding. In fact, 9 churches were rebuilt in the Diocese of Lichfield, or built or rebuilt in the Diocese of Lichfield in 1840 alone. And that's to do with an increase in population, so you've got urban populations, because the Diocese of Lichfield includes Stoke-on-Trent and includes Shrewsbury. Shropshire, of course, has no Anglican cathedral of its own. There was talk in the early 20th century of a Diocese of Shrewsbury, but it never really materialised. So we look around the inside of this church and again note some of the important features given its history. As usual, then we start at the west end. And as I said, this is a galleried church. The gallery is supported, of course, mostly by the great big beam that's tied into the walls at either side, but also by these 2 deceptively slender iron columns. We're not very far from Ironbridge. We're not very far from that part of Shropshire where they were making these iron columns, and so cast iron is a material that's found again and again around here. I mentioned 1880, the new font, there it is, and as we zoom in here we can see here is Noah's Ark, the Ark being a type of baptism. We have the dove there for the Holy Spirit. Now this is quite interesting, because this is a picture of the old chapel before it was demolished, and you can see it standing there, very simple, probably is the original Norman building. And this building is much more elaborate than that. It was quite run down, and the other thing was, of course, in the period, people weren't quite so concerned, shall we say, about maintaining these old Norman buildings, and it would have been cheaper, no doubt, to knock it down and start all over again, which is what they did. The pews, of course, are Victorian, and yes, you do have 15 followed by 41. They've obviously been moved around a bit. Unless, of course, somebody, I think somebody just painted it on wrong there. It should be 14, it actually says 41. Never mind. And here we have sowing and reaping to the glory of God in memory of William Heath Lander and Sarah, his wife. This window given by their sons and daughters, 1930. Mothers Union banner there. It's got a simple interior, of course. And here we have, again to do with some of the local history here, we have Kyoda, Bishop of the Mercians, and that's Chad, of course, and Hermeneude, mother of Werber. So St Werber, of course, is the founder of what's now Chester Cathedral, one of these Anglo-Saxon princesses who was, don't want to be a princess, I want to be a nun. And to Dad was, okay, you can be a nun then. So we have the chancel, and this is very typical of 1840s. It is a niche in which the table stands. You can see there's no choir stalls. The choir stalls are here, and they will have replaced pews that would have been there before 1880. The organ, probably before 1880, there would have been a barrel organ or something along those lines, or a little organ, and it may very well have been up in the gallery where you would have also had before then, the rustic band that would have accompanied singing. It was quite interesting and sort of amusing to see that that after all the replacement of gallery bands with organs in the 19th century, in the last part of the 20th century into the 21st century, we've got churches going back to the idea of a band made up of local people. Of course, the music is rather different in style, but still. And we have here works of mercy in the window, and then we have the pulpit. Now, this does appear to be, I would suspect, not original, but probably 1860s rather than 1880. It might be 1880. Made of stone again. Victorians like their stone pulpits. Nice little wiggly balusters there of the communion rail. And then we come in here and we've got this nice tiled floor, and then you've got more tiles here, the carpet, but you can just see and there is the piscina. I do suspect it's been rescued from the old church because I can't see why else they'd have that. And there is a mysterious archway here. I do wonder if there's any bits of the old church left here. We shall see when we go outside. And on the other side we have the vestry door. And then you can look through the arch, you can see that. And the Victorians are really not very keen eventually upon that sort of Tudor-style arch, but it does the job. No problem with it myself. And looking west, we've got that great big gallery with that nice banner, Jesus is King, on the front. So that is the inside here at Tibberton on this beautiful summer's day. So we'll go outside next. And so here we are outside at Tibberton. You can see here there's the tower, and of course this is one of the great features the new church has. It has a tower, while the old one just had a wooden bellcot. So it's announcing we are bigger than we were, we're important, and we have the money to have a tower. And that sort of village pride, for want of a better word, is an important part of how you get these big churches built in the 19th century. You've got local landowners who have a certain pride in their village and don't want to be outdone by the next, but you've got just the ordinary villagers who have the same attitude. So we'll look around the outside and see what we can see. There's a lot of monuments here, of course, that predate the present church. Or I say not a lot, but there's a good number here because, of course, there was a graveyard, as we saw with the picture inside. There was a graveyard here before this church was built. So let's look around the outside, shall we? So here we are. This is the south side. Of course, it's quite common to find yews around churches, particularly old ones, so we've no surprise here. But one of the great advantages that they had building this is the local sandstone is relatively tough and is this very attractive red colour, and you can see the tower there. The whole thing is original. There's no indication it's been increased in height, which again doesn't surprise me. If you want to build a nice tall tower, you can. So we go round here. This is the East End, and one of the important things with the East End that we'll see out here, there we are, this little chancel. Yes, it's a priest's door, isn't it? That's what's been blocked, is the priest's door. So no part of the old church surviving. What we see here is this nice tracery, and you can see the cast iron used in the frame, because again, cast iron is a local industry. And here's the outside of the vestry, and there's the organ chamber built in 1880. And as we saw in the old picture, the church stands on a bluff overlooking a stream and a little pond, and we are now on the side where the bluff is. You can just see, of course it's all concealed here by, here we go, and there you can see the river running by, and that's where that car's going over the bridge. And we come up here on the north side, and again you've got that original work on the window. And here we have, these are the later memorials. This is, we have here the memorials, and a nice big anchor. And although anchors, of course, are a symbol of hope in Christian theology, this is in fact a memorial to a sailor, John Harry Sharrod, R.N., son of Frederick Henry Sharrod of Cherrington Manor, born 11th September 1886, passed away Easter morn, 16th of April 1911. The strife is o'er, the battle done. Well, of course, the battle hadn't happened yet in that sense, but the Sharrods, they're the local big house family. Now here we have some of the older memorials, and you can see up here there's a lovely example there, upstanding. Originally probably had an iron fence around it, but a lot of these were taken down. So this is the tailors, these nice table tombs, extensive graveyard, stretching away to the south, of course, because that's what you did. The north side was, well, of course, the north side here, the ground just falls away and you haven't any space for burials. But in the Middle Ages, the north side was where you laid to rest shall we say, the less favoured. And there's that nice tall tower sticking up. It doesn't dominate the village because of the trees around it, but it is quite a nice feature. So we come back, there's the entrance, of course, is through the west door. And then we've got the war memorial here, those of this parish who fell in that war, fell in the two world wars, and all in the army in the First World War, and just the one in the Second World War, and he is a gunner in the Royal Navy. And here we have William Taylor, 1891, and again these big memorials. And just there you can see there's the sundial. So, interesting church with a good collection of memorials. This is probably one of the best. This is another Taylor. Obviously the Taylors are the big family here. This is 1798. So this is older than the church, put it that way. So that is the outside here at Tibberton. So there you have it, All Saints Tibberton, 1840 with later modifications. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.